Welcome into the recap of the latest saga in Chicago sports. Roquan Smith's demand for a trade. He is hoping to end his time as the Bears' standout linebacker. I'm David Kaplan. It's a gorgeous day out. Got up this morning, went in and did radio with my guy Jonathan Hood, and then the breaking news sounder went off. And that was Roquan Smith through Ian Rappaport of NFL Network, as we first reported on ESPN 1000 today, asking for a trade, saying that he has felt disrespected by Bears management in the process and thought that the offer that they put on the table for him was disrespectful. It later came out from Rappaport, obviously from Roquan, that the offer that he called disrespectful contained de-escalator clauses so that if he's not healthy, that they could reduce what they're paying him. So let's go through all of this. First and foremost, Roquan Smith is an outstanding football player. He is. However, just because he's an outstanding middle linebacker does not mean that he deserves to be paid at the top end of the market. Shaquille Leonard, formerly known as Darius of the Indianapolis Colts, is at $19.5 million or thereabouts per year. You have Fred Warner also at that high end of the scale. I picked up the phone and I spoke to someone today who's been a GM of two different NFL teams. And I asked him about Roquan Smith. And I'm going to read you the notes that I took, and here's what he had to say. And again, I like Roquan, and I hope he stays a Bear. And I still think there's a chance they get this deal done. Ryan Poles, unlike Ryan Pace, Ryan Poles came down and spoke today, which I thought was really, really good to see. He did not just push it to the side. He did not hide. He came down and talked about it. He did not give you a ton of information, but he certainly addressed the topic, which I thought was a really good thing for the Bears fans to know that their guy understands what's going on. Former GM tells me he would not pay him more than $12 million. And when I asked why, he said, because I don't think he's as impactful a player at his position as some of the other guys like Fred Warner, like Shaquille Leonard. He said he's certainly not a TJ Watt style player who sacks the quarterback. Roquan had 3 sacks last year. In 4 years in the NFL, he has a grand total of 14 sacks. As this GM said, is he really good in coverage? Absolutely. He's fast. Is he really good in terms of going sideline to sideline? Absolutely. Hard hitter, good guy, all of that. But he said when you live in a salary cap driven environment and you have so many holes to fill, you need multiple wide receivers, you've got to repair the offensive line, you need pass rush help. You cannot give him a $19 to $21 million contract, which is what he is reportedly seeking. He did agree to get him to take a contract with de-escalators is probably a no-go. I spoke to another personnel man today, and he said, you're never going to get him on a de-escalating contract if he's not healthy. So you're going to have to toss that out. But he said it's a negotiation. The one GM that I spoke to said, you'll be shocked what you're going to get for him. You are not going to get a first-round pick. He said you probably are going to get a 2, possibly a 3 and a 4. 2 or a 3 and a 4. He said, I do not see a scenario where someone is paying you a first-round pick, especially a high first-round pick, and we don't know who the high first-round picks are yet because the season hasn't been played. You could project, but the teams that aren't going to be very good are not making a trade for Roquan Smith at age 25, turning 26 in the final year of his deal. Also, just a couple of facts that I clarified. He has to play this year or he loses this season for his service time, so the Bears would still maintain his rights. And if he does play this year, the Bears could still franchise tag him after this season, and he will not hit unrestricted free agency. However, Roquan Smith is a very, very good football player, but he is not a professional negotiator. In case you're not aware, Roquan fired his agent and is handling this himself. He has marketing people, he has other people in his life, but in terms of a hard-boiled, tough negotiating agent, He does not have one. And both guys that I spoke to, former GM, former personnel man, both said that is no way to go through a negotiation, because the general manager, ryanpoles, is going to tell you certain things they don't like about your game to keep the cost that he has to pay down. He said, you don't want to hear that stuff. The agent takes that stuff and softens the blow for you and tries to make the best deal because he's a master negotiator. So Roquan's in a tough spot here. No agent, isn't practicing. The season's around the corner. When are you going to come back to practice? Because if you wait too long and it's late August, the season starts September 11th, you may have a real problem, because what if you get hurt? He pulled this when he was a rookie. He held out a long time and then had to deal with a hamstring injury. He needs to get back on the field and go through practice. Now, another point. You remember the Deebo Samuel and DK Metcalf contract squabbles that just got resolved. They both got big deals. Think back, the GM said to me, to the Jalen Ramsey saga in Jacksonville. Jalen Ramsey demanded a trade, went back to practice, and then would tell the team as they got close to game day, yeah, you know what? I know I practiced, but my back's a little stiff. I'm out. It became such a sideshow that they finally said, all right, you're out. And they got what they could get. I think they made a really good deal, but Jalen Ramsey's a more impactful player than Roquan Smith, and they were able to trade him to the Los Angeles Rams. Roquan is not a guy that puts quarterbacks on their ass. He is not a guy that intercepts a lot of passes, so his market is not going to be, unfortunately, what Jalen Ramsey's market is. So that all said, what I would do, I would try to make the best possible deal and keep him with me, but I am not paying him at the top of the market. Again, I know fans will say, whatever it takes, he's our guy, you got to keep him. I disagree. I would pay him a very, very good salary. But am I giving him $19, $20, $21 million with 60 or more guaranteed? Absolutely not. Can they find a middle ground? That remains to be seen. A couple of other quick notes. The personnel man said to me, I'd give him $18 million or in that area. I like him a lot. However, GM says to me, can you pay a player who doesn't impact the game and take up that much of your salary cap by paying him almost $20 million a year? Finally, got to get an agent. Both guys said this nonsense about not using an agent has to stop. He has to hire an agent and get out of the way, go back to work, practice, get your body right for football, and then let the agent do the deal. And if you can't come to an agreement, then you can't come to an agreement. But right now, that's how it has to be handled. He is not a professional negotiator. He's a professional football player. That's the latest on my guy Roquan. It's a gorgeous day out here. I'll keep making calls. I get any more info, I'll have it for you. Have yourself a nice little seltzer. Oh, cranberry lime. Thank you to my friends at Polar for sending some over. Have a great rest of your day. Take that.